Now it's time to bring our next guest, Matthew Johnson. Matthew is the owner and president of Johnson Wealth and Income Management in Humboldt, Iowa. He's been an advisor for 15 years, and his company goes back 3 generations. He also is a great friend of the income generation, and more importantly to me, a very close friend of yours truly. Matthew, thanks for being on the show again today.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
You know, I'm going to ask you this question because this question, it exemplifies you as you grew up in the 3rd generation of your business. And that has to do with the importance of being coachable. We talked about that earlier, as you heard. Why do you think it's so important for people to be coachable when they're trying to make financial decisions?
Well, we've got a society that says that ignorance is bliss, and that's not really true. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance usually equates to pain. And so unless you know the seasons and you know the cycles and you know the trends, you're probably going to experience a lot of pain. And so education is one of those things that's absolutely critical because as a retiree, you're coming to a phase of your life that you've never been to before. And you kind of need to learn from the mistakes of others, and you need to know what you can expect and how you need to anticipate what your money needs to do for you.
Yeah, and you can't do that if you're not coachable and open-minded, so it makes sense. But I want to talk to you now for a minute about our educational system overall. We go to school, we learn a lot about the topics we need to go and get a job and to make a living. But in formal education, we learn virtually nothing about debt, about income, about how to save and invest money, all the things that people really need to know that are probably second only in terms of life importance to their own medical health.
Isn't that ironic? But I think you really stumbled across something. You see, especially when you're going into college, the first lesson that you learn is that you have to go into debt to learn something. The real shame of it all, though, is that schools today, they teach you how to work for money. They don't teach you how to make your money work for you. It's very, very backwards. And so one of the things that I've always wondered in the back of my mind is the reason that we don't teach these things fundamentally about money to students, is it because the generation of teachers that are teaching the students don't know themselves about money and how to make money work for them? It's a question that begs asking, I think.
Well, if you listened to Robert Kiyosaki on our show just a few weeks ago, he would absolutely agree with you that that's the problem, is unfortunately the teachers really don't know how to teach it. They haven't been taught how to teach it. Mm-hmm. So, okay, tell me, what is, I know you share my passion for education. You really do, and that's why I wanted so much for you to be a guest on the show today, because of the topic. So tell me, what is it that got you to the point to make education such a big, important part of your life in terms of educating others?
Well, I guess a lot of it is the fact I have been a financial advisor for over 20 years now. And unfortunately, even though I'm 3rd generation, I saw my own parents make, now in retrospect, financial decisions that really weren't in their best interest. So there was some things close to home. Maybe it was drawing Social Security too early and giving up a fourth of their benefits. But more importantly, I have seen countless individuals in my 20 years that have either run out of money or they've had to live on a huge drastic cut in pay simply because they never made that transitional strategic change with their own investment strategies to fit the phase of life that they were now entering. In other words, we have the phase of our life where we're trying to accumulate our money, and so we're trying to go for growth. But then if we transition into retirement, now we're in the distribution phase of our life. And if our money doesn't follow suit, that can lead to some financial failures in a very big way. And that's the reason I try to educate as many people as I can about this.
You and I have talked about a lot even on the show. We need to leave it there and take a commercial break. We'll be right back in a minute. And you stay with us too. We'll be right back with many more words of wisdom from my good friend, Matthew Johnson. Now it's the time to welcome back Matthew Johnson, owner and president of Johnson Wealth and Income Management in Iowa, who has, I stand corrected, more than 20 years of experience as a financial advisor. Matthew, I guess we've known each other for so long I lost track of time, but thanks for sticking around.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right. So, okay, we're talking about people who are coachable, but how about those avid do-it-yourselfers? And let's face it, there are some do-it-yourselfers that both you and I come across that are really quite knowledgeable and informed enough to actually manage their money on their own throughout retirement.
Right.
But those are few and far between. A lot of the so-called do-it-yourself investors really don't have the knowledge that they should have, adequate knowledge to do it successfully. What are your best words of wisdom for those advisors who want to do it themselves, but maybe really shouldn't?
Well, it's pretty simplistic. You know what you know, and you probably know what you don't know. And the problem is that what you don't know can sometimes hurt you very badly. And I think in many respects, there's so much information that's out there, but most of it is it's so slanted towards Wall Street and investing, and you always have to have money in the market, and the market's a good inflation hedge. All of that Kool-Aid coming in such large volume can really skew a person's judgment. And the reason that people work with financial advisors, I believe, is because they need a voice of reason. They need someone that's flying at a much higher level to be able to see a little bit further and be able to help coach them on what they're likely to experience and what they're going to need to do in order to accomplish their goals in retirement. So it's a matter of having a large basis of understanding for this new phase of life.
Yeah, as I like to say, if you're in an airplane at 1,000 feet elevation, you can only see 40 miles ahead. If you're at 30,000 feet, you can see more than 200 miles ahead. It's almost 6 times as much. So, okay, let's talk about the retirement income store. How do you think, you're part of this initiative, we're working together side by side on this. How do you think the retirement income store is going to help educate some of those people as to the right way to invest for retirement?
The retirement income store is so special because it is specialized, it's exclusive. The area of expertise is that of income and income production. So many people, they focus their money on performance. What I want my clients to do is I want to be able to help them see where they need to focus their money on purpose. Because if you have goals in retirement, it's going to take one thing to accomplish those goals, and that's income. And as with many things, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And when you work with the retirement income store, the basis of knowledge is enormous. It's wonderful because its sole focus is helping you take the resources you've saved and get that money working for you, creating for you income so that you can accomplish those goals and have the retirement that you want.
And more importantly, I would say, the efforts that we're making as a group and going to be enhancing beyond this show to educate the public as to how to do that and why that's so important. Because you're right, if you're investing for a particular retirement purpose, it's not about total return anymore. It's really about the amount of income that your assets can generate.
Right.
And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. So it's that time again to take another commercial break here. Stick around. We'll be back with one more block with Matthew Johnson. You're listening to David Scranton, Matthew Johnson here on The Income Generation, and we'll be right back. And now it's time to welcome back Matthew Johnson for one last segment of the show, owner and president of Johnson Wealth and Income Management in Humboldt, Iowa. Matthew, thanks for sticking around for so long today on the show.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Like I said, I know where your heart is. Tell our viewers a little bit about your education center that you have right there in your office in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. So not only did we have a full service office with full service staff, but I have a financial education center that is dedicated simply to trying to educate people about the things that they're going to need to know about as they segue into retirement. Teaching in colleges, the individual investor that is in the world today as they retire, there's so many different transitions that they're going to be going through, and they want to know how to do it the right way. And when a person is looking to be successful in retirement, they've got to be able to know what's actually possible with the money that they save for retirement. And they can do it a right way, they can do it a wrong way. But the education is key to all of that, because if your knowledge base ends, that's when your frustration begins, and you can make some major mistakes if you do it the wrong way.
So Matthew, tell us, what do you do in a situation like today? I know you and I both agree that the market's a little higher now than it has been. We just got over the longest cyclical bull market on record. And at some point, we have to have another drop around the corner. But that's a time when your average investor is typically glued to the market because the last 10 years have been upward trajectory for the most part. They're feeling confident, maybe for inappropriate reasons, but they're feeling confident. What do you use? How do you educate people about that and where the market is today so that they can make good, informed decisions versus emotional decisions?
It's really, really simple, and it's something that even you have discussed before, and that's going back to history. Are we going to just immediately erase and rewrite 200 years of history, or do we believe that human nature is always going to be perpetuated within our market? And the reality is this. No matter what segment of history we look at, there's always a reason that would lead you to believe that the market's going to go onward and upward forever. I also believe that the market is going upwards because of a long duration of low interest rates. And so it's forcing people, because they don't know about income, they don't know how to create income, they think that their only other alternative is to take the risk with the money. Because after all, man, it's got sizzle, it looks good, it looks like it's increasing in size. All those things kind of help to create this propensity to put your money into the market, but it only takes one major correction to wipe out that wealth. And those are the things that you want to try to avoid. And I believe focusing on income is going to allow you to not only keep your principal more safe, but it's going to allow your principal to work for you, creating interest and dividend and growth the old-fashioned way. Think about it, Dave. If you have a stock that goes up $5, it's not really worth $5 more unless you sold it. Then you get to make the gain. But what if you got paid $5 a dividend? Now that's tangible. That's money you can put in your pocket. You can either spend it or you can save it and reinvest it, and your net worth still grew. So why not take less risk and create more focus and get income to accomplish your goals?
Hallelujah, my brother. That's all I have to say about that. Matthew, thanks so much for being on the show today. It's been my pleasure. And hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Very good. Look forward to it.
Okay, you stay with us. We'll be right back with more here on the Income Generation. We'll be right back.